everyone, welcome back to the Stitches and Scribbles channel. My name is Erin and today we're doing another podcast episode. I've actually really been enjoying doing weekly podcasts instead of monthly ones because I feel like I have more crafty things to talk about, which has been very exciting. I do actually have a couple of finished objects to show you today as well, and I also had a trip to Joann's. I did not buy any yarn. Oh, I do have one yarn acquisition though. Hold on. I'm going to get it down before we start the podcast so that I don't forget to talk about it. But anyway, I've got a lot of stuff to show you today, and I figure I'll dive in first with my finished objects for the month. So the first one that I have to show you is this drawstring cowl that is actually going to be a gift for my dad, probably for Christmas. I did block it, although I might do something with it again because you can see like little points on there from where the blocking pins were. And it is finished, except that I still have these strings hanging off the drawstring because I'm not sure if I want to add wooden beads to the bottom of the strings or not. I felt like the wooden beads would keep it from like getting lost inside of the drawstring tube that's at the top. Or if it did get lost in there, the beads would like allow you to like fish it back out, if that makes sense. So I think I want to add those, but I'm not 100% sure. So let me know if you think I should. I think it would be very nice on there. But this just goes over your head and is worn as a cowl. But because of the drawstring, if it's really, really super cold, you can tighten it around your face or your neck to keep you extra warm. And I live in Wisconsin, so it gets very, very cold. Actually, today it is currently -5 degrees out, so I am not looking forward to going outside later. But that is my first finished item of the month. Really excited that this is done. I also really liked the design, so I think I am going to make one for myself eventually, probably in one of the yarns that I have up here somewhere. I think it's right there. I have like this teal and brown and beige self-striping yarn that I got quite a while ago, so I should probably use it for something. And my second finished object, I can't talk today. That's lovely. I have not woven in the ends on this yet, so you'll see strings hanging off, but that's okay. This is a triangle shawl. I'm trying to show it. That I made using one of the Hobby Lobby hand-dyed yarns. I believe it's a color they no longer have because I got it clearanced out in the last Hobby Lobby sale. But it's just a simple triangle shawl. I have yarn over increases just on one edge, and that makes it into a slightly asymmetrical triangle shawl. I typically wear these more often as scarves, so it would probably look like that. Obviously not with another scarf underneath, but I thought that these were just really pretty fall colors. This was also one of my travel projects for a while. If you haven't heard me talk about it in previous episodes of the podcast, I keep a couple projects that are not considered active whips that are easy grab and go projects that I can do mostly in the car is what I keep them for. So they're usually garter stitch knit projects because I don't have to look at my work while doing garter stitch. And they're ones where I don't need a pattern to continue with it, and that just makes them a really easy thing that I can take in the car as something to do on road trips, or if I have a day where I'm like running a bunch of errands with somebody and we're going to be in the car a lot, or even just to like take with me to craft nights at the library if I don't have a better project to work on. Basically any time where I would either be in the car or talking while working, because I don't want to work on a pattern where I have to count or like look at my work in either of those situations. So this was one of my travel projects that I did finish. There was a little bit of the yarn left, so that went into my scrap collection, which is this tea container right here is currently holding all of my lightweight yarn scraps that I'm hoping eventually I can use to make some yarn cozies or like little tiny items. So that's just where those scraps live for now. Yeah, I'm excited to have this done. I started it in September thinking that I'd have it done to be able to wear it for fall, and that obviously didn't happen, but I will definitely enjoy these fall colors this coming fall. Also, speaking of it being so cold outside, you probably can hear my heater in the background, but because it is -5 degrees out, that is staying on while we film this video. Sometimes I try to turn it off if I'm filming a video so that you can't hear it, and usually if it's just for an hour or so while I'm filming, it's not that big of a deal to turn the heat off during that time, but for today that seemed like a risky decision. What do I want to do next? I think next I want to talk about acquisitions and things that I either was given or purchased. So first of all, the yarn that I went and grabbed at the beginning of the video. I go to a crafting group at my local library where there's kind of no rules to it. It's just bring a craft to work on and come talk to people. But there was a lady sitting next to me who I know from the craft group, but her kids go to the school that I sub at, so I kind of know her from that as well. She was working on a very pretty baby hat in this yarn, which this is a really lightweight ribbon yarn in shades of like hot pink and white and like a mustardy orange color. Very, very pretty. And I was looking at it over her shoulder and said like, oh, like that's a really cool yarn. I've never seen a yarn like that before. Usually when I see ribbon yarns, I think I have a couple. Yeah, usually when I see ribbon yarns, they're like this kind that's wider and more like decorative. It's not soft. It's not something that you'd want to wear up against your skin. Or it's something like this that's the like ladder style ribbon yarn. So I was just kind of surprised by this and thought it was really cool. And she explained that she actually had gotten some yarn from a relative who had passed away, and she had a bunch of this and wasn't planning on using it, so she gave me her extra skein, which is very exciting. I am really intrigued to work with this. So I don't know if this is the yarn that's even available anymore because I don't know how old it is, and she didn't either. But this is Universal Yarn Alana, and it's about 159 yards, 58% viscose, 42% polyester. It's labeled as a 4 medium. I think it's more of a 3. Although I can see they probably did it as a 4 because of the width, not because of like how big it is when it's like crunched up, if that makes sense. I thought that this would make a really cool purse because of the ribbon construction, and yeah, I don't know where that sentence was going. Mostly because of the ribbon construction. So that might be a future project that you see here on the channel. Really excited to use that. And then I also went to Joann, and I did not buy any yarn at Joann. I was really good. I actually went a whole month of January, because today's the 31st when I'm filming this, without buying any yarn. That one that I just showed you is the only yarn acquisition that I have for this month, other than some things I bought to do a party favor situation that I can talk about in a few minutes. But that is the only one that is like going into my stash. But I did have some other things that I was looking for at Joann, and actually I think, oh, it's not all Joann. Some of this is from Hobby Lobby. Okay, I've got two different piles of things here to talk about. Yeah, I've got a Joann haul and a Hobby Lobby haul. So Hobby Lobby now has out their Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, and some Easter stuff. And usually when Hobby Lobby releases like seasonal items, they're on sale when they first go out. So I went with my mom because we were getting yarn for the other project that I'll talk about in a minute. So of course we had to go through all of the seasonal stuff. And I don't have a ton of Valentine's Day and St. Patrick's Day decorations, mostly because up until this house, I lived in an apartment. But I have like a little box of a few St. Patrick's Day and a few Valentine's Day things that I like to get out, although I don't know where they're going to go this year in the house because I created a different display for my library for the month of February. But anyway, it's not that I hate Valentine's Day. I do like Valentine's Day. I think it's a fun holiday. That's also my husband's and my dating anniversary. That's when we started officially dating, when we were in college. But my birthday is 2 days after Valentine's Day. So I don't really decorate for Valentine's Day because I'd rather have decorations out that, not that they're specifically birthday decorations, but like my favorite things out for my birthday, if that makes sense. So actually, if I do decorate for Valentine's Day, I usually leave it up until Valentine's Day and then take it down and immediately switch over to St. Patrick's Day stuff because my favorite color is green and I like everything Irish. So usually by the time my birthday hits, the St. Patrick's Day stuff is already up or I've switched it to something different. So I don't really do very many like specifically Valentine's Day decorations. So I wanted to find something that was a little pop of red for decorating, but like would still carry over through the rest of spring and not necessarily be Valentine's Day specific, if that makes sense. I also figured I could like crochet some little hearts or something to put anywhere where I wanted something specifically like heart themed. So that was a very, very long explanation for what I'm going to talk about. I have a very plain wreath that's just, I have one that's got like fake snow and pine cones on it that I have up now, but I also have one that is like green ferns or like long skinny leaves, I guess, and like tiny red flowers. So I found these little mushrooms in the spring section at Hobby Lobby that have I don't know if you can see that through the package, but it has the florist wire sticking out of them so that you can put them in a wreath. And I thought this would be a really cute pop of red, but it would still be appropriate for St. Patrick's Day with like some leprechaun and fairy themed items. So I was really happy about those, and I also I love mushrooms on everything. As you probably know by now with some of the things I've made on this channel. And then to go along with that, I got myself a kitchen towel to put on display in my kitchen. It's definitely machine embroidered. Like, this was not done by hand, but it's a bunch of mushrooms and their scientific names. So again, a little pop of red, but not something that I would like immediately take down when Valentine's Day is over. Like, honestly, I'll probably use this year round off and on whenever I don't have a different thing to display. So I was excited about that as well. And this was also in the spring stuff at Hobby Lobby. And then because I was already in the spring section, there was some other stuff that I just ended up seeing and thought it would be very fun. The first one was this little St. Patrick's Day fairy door. So this is going to go in my front yard up against a tree to turn the tree into a little leprechaun house. And I also realized the back is plain, so I could paint a different door design on the back and make it be reversible. And I'll probably put some sort of an outdoor safe sealant on this before I put it outside. But I got the little door. And then to go with it, I found these very cute little gnomes. So not really St. Patrick's Day because they're not leprechauns, but I thought these little guys were so cute. They all have little gardening supplies. I'm also going to seal these with a clear something to protect them. And then I think I'm actually going to glue them to flat rocks to make it a little easier to stand them up outside so that they can kind of hang out near the door. I know it's a very big door for them, but I thought that would be cute. And then I also found some mushrooms. So I'll do the same thing, coat them in an outdoor safe clear coat and then glue them to flat rocks so that I can display them easily outside. And, oh, I have two more things from Hobby Lobby. So the next thing I got, this was in their Valentine's section, but it's going to be a gift for my grandmother eventually. So it's this simple little cutting board, but the hole at the top is actually heart-shaped, which they did it for Valentine's Day, but you could have this out whenever. I don't think it's that obviously a Valentine's Day thing. But I was going to use my wood burning kit and do something around the edge for my grandmother as a fun gift. Hobby Lobby has a lot. Actually, I think Joann and Michael's also have a good amount of stuff like this, but like blank wooden items that are good for wood burning or painting or whatever you want to do. But I recommend checking out the seasonal ones for those things because they usually go on clearance pretty quickly. And yeah, I thought this would be a very cute gift to personalize for my grandmother by adding like some words or design around the edge. And then the last thing I got from Hobby Lobby was in the bead section. And they're these little, let's focus on there please. Yeah, they're these little fairy wing charms that are transparent so the light goes through them. And I'm just going to make some earrings for Ren Fair this year. My mom has already called dibs on the blue ones, so I'll have the other three that I can mix and match with my costume. I also liked that each color came as a pair, so you can get 4 pairs of earrings out of this, which is super nice. Then my other like mini haul was from Joann's, and I don't even remember. Oh, I went into Joann's originally to get more polyfill, but that's not exciting. But I did pick up a couple of like sewing and needle crafts things. The first thing I got was a fabric bundle. I don't know what the rules are for calling something a fat quarter versus just a fabric bundle. But I found this little bundle of like celestial print tie-dye fabrics, and they all have this gold detailing on them. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different fabrics in there. But I thought this, once I actually like get out my sewing machine and try it, which also it's been sitting behind me for the last 2 months in videos that I've filmed down here, and I'm just now realizing I don't think I've ever talked about it, so I'll come back to that in a second. But I want to maybe use these to make a little like belt pouch or a project bag for a Ren Fair costume, because I do a lot of things in like the dark green shades, so that's what I'm hoping to use these for. And I figured even if I'm like mixing and matching the little fabric pieces, that's not a huge deal because they all kind of coordinate. But I would like to make a bag that I could use as a knitting project bag the rest of the year, but have like a little loop on it so that I can feed a belt through it and then also be able to use it for the Renaissance Fair, because I don't like carrying a regular purse to the Renaissance Fair. I'd rather it be a part of my costume. So usually I end up doing belt bags of some sort, or just making sure that my costume has a lot of pockets. But I feel like this would be a good solution for that. And then since I was in the fabric section, I went ahead and picked up some pins for sewing, because I don't have these yet. and realized I would probably need them, although I don't really know what I need for sewing because I haven't tried it yet. And then the last thing I picked up was just a pack of cross-stitch fabric because I want to get more into cross-stitching and experiment with that more. So got myself the supplies. Okay, the sewing machine that's behind me that I haven't talked about. Yes, it is still in the box. However, this sewing machine is at least 20 years old. I got it from my in-laws who had it in their like basement storage stuff and it hadn't really been used. I think my mother-in-law said that she took it out of the box a couple of times to try it, but it wasn't her thing, so it's just been sitting down there. So they were kind enough to give it to me to take home and try. So I want to do a dedicated video to trying the sewing machine for the first time because I think that would be a fun vlog. But I have no idea how to use this thing. I don't think it needs to be serviced because it hasn't really been used. But I'm definitely going to need to watch like a lot of YouTube tutorials to figure this out because I have never used a sewing machine before. But I would like to learn so that I can A, expand the number of things I sell at craft fairs, and B, be able to hopefully make some of my own Ren Fair costume pieces because I really have trouble finding things in the colors and designs that I like that are also in my size. So I would like to experiment with that a little more and hopefully get into some sewing. I really like watching Rachel Maxey's videos on YouTube. She does a lot of sewing projects and just a lot of like costume related things in general. So I'd really like to make some cool costume pieces that I can wear since I really enjoy both Halloween and going to the Renaissance Fair. So that's why this is here. And yeah, hopefully that'll be a video fairly soon that I get to show you because I'm really excited to start that. I just haven't like quite had time to do it yet. Okay, going back to yarn purchases. So I have a video planned that you won't see the actual video until April because I am making favors for a friend's bridal shower. And I don't think she follows me on YouTube or anything because she's not a crafter. And I feel like it's fine to talk about it in a podcast because it wouldn't be like part of the podcast title, if that makes sense. But I didn't want to release the like dedicated video to this project until after her bridal shower is done, if that makes sense. So her bridal shower is at the end of April, so you won't see the video, I believe, until May. But I am making favors for the bridal shower as well as some like prizes for games and little gifts for the bride, her mom, and her future mother-in-law to take home. So as a favor for everybody, I will be making lavender sachets, which is something that I sell in my vendor booth. So I got 3 colors of purple yarn. The bride's favorite color is purple, so we went with a lavender theme for the shower. These are all Hobby Lobby yarns. Let's do the names. I love this yarn in Periwinkle, is this kind of bluish purple one. I love this yarn in Orchid, is the more like pinky purple one. And then the really light one is Yarn ID in the color Thistle. So this is the only one that's not the I Love This Yarn brand. Haven't actually started any of the sachets yet, but I use real lavender buds in there. These are ones that we dried, I believe, last summer, and they're so dry that all of the buds have like fallen to the bottom of the bag, which will make it easy to do later. But then I'm also making soap savers for a game prize for like one of the little games that we're gonna play, and also for the bride, her mom, and future mother-in-law. So these are the ones that are still in progress, which is why the ball of yarn is stuffed in there. But I did 2 in this purple scrubby yarn. And then I wanted some variety, so I tried using the Lily Sugar and Cream scrubby, but it's just, I don't like this yarn. First of all, it ended up like too long and narrow when worked on the knitting machine. And because there's like not a lot of stretch to it, I can't really fix that. So I don't think the bars of soap that I usually use for this are going to work. Also, like, the top doesn't stretch at all, and it was really hard to crochet it loosely, so I don't think I'll be able to like get a bar of soap in there. So these ones are probably going to be scrapped, and that's why I haven't finished filming the video yet, is because I was so frustrated with that yarn. So I'm probably just going to make 4 total in the purple scrubby yarn instead of doing 2 and 2 like I had originally planned. And honestly, I think that Lily and Cream scrubby yarn I'm just going to repurpose as stuffing because it's cotton. Did not like that yarn. And I've worked with a lot of like scrubby and cotton yarns at this point with my vendor fair stuff, and I like the regular sugar and cream cotton, but that one with the scrubby bits in it just was not good. My knitting machine hated it, so it took forever, and I also don't like the finished product, so I will not be using that again. But yeah, so those 3 skeins of yarn and the scrubby yarn were the only like yarn purchases this month, but I don't count them as going into my stash because they're going to be used immediately. Like, they're never going to end up inside the cabinet. They're just going to be used up immediately because I have to make 30 lavender sachets. So I will definitely be using every part of those 3 purple skeins of yarn. I don't think I'm going to have to go back and get more because some of them are pretty big, but I'm more worried about having to go get an extra skein than I am about having leftovers. So I'm not even going to count those as like incoming stash on my tracker because they're going to get used immediately as soon as I finish filming the video, which honestly I will probably do tomorrow when you see this. Actually, I will probably be doing it the day that this video comes out, which is tomorrow in my time. Since I already started talking about incoming and outgoing stash, I thought I would take a minute to talk about my destashing progress before I show you my whips, because there's really only 2 active whips at the moment. So for this month I used, well, let's talk about finished projects first. I finished the baby sweater that I showed you in the last couple podcasts, as well as the matching baby blanket. I finished the cowl for my dad, and I'm almost done with my Something Cozy sweater, and I started that pair of neon socks that we're not going to talk about in this video because I haven't made any progress on them. So that means for this month I used 1 skein of Craft Smart yarn in Sage. That was for the baby sweater. I used about a half a skein of Craft Smart yarn in Cream. I used 4 balls for the baby blanket, and I just counted them all together because they were all used in the same project. I used 2 skeins of the Hobie Dream color for the cowl for my dad. I used 2 skeins of Hobby Lobby hand-dyed yarn and 1 skein of Color Idol for the socks. The reason why I counted it as 2, even though I'm pretty sure I'm only going to use 1 full skein of the hand-dyed yarn, is that my plan when I finish the socks is to put the remainder in my donate pile because I don't think I'm going to use that color again for anything else. The remaining skein is actually behind me, so it's this like mostly white with pops of like pink, yellow, and blue. I have the extra one on display for now, but once I finish the pair of socks, if I don't need the second skein, I'm just going to go ahead and donate it because that's not a color palette that I wear frequently, which means it's great for socks, but I don't really need to make another item out of it, and there's not enough of it for it to be like a baby blanket or something like that. And the remaining yarn I used was on my Something Cozy sweater, and that was 3 cloud cakes from Karen Cakes. Yeah. So in total for this month, I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and a half skeins because of that half a Craft Smart thing I used for the trim on the baby sweater. So I think that's a pretty significant destashing for 1 month. I already have a couple of skeins marked off for February that I have either started the project already or know that I will be working on the project and then using up those skeins. So yeah, maybe I'll talk about that in the next podcast of like what yarn I'm planning on using. So I'll finish up today's podcast with just my 2 current whips. So the first one that I've already talked about is my Something Cozy sweater, which is like 99% done. I finished, that's the top, that's at the bottom of the screen. I finished both sleeves, I finished the body. I'm just working on adding a couple rows of ribbing to the end. And my goal for the ribbing is to use up my remaining partial skeins because I rewound some of them. So I have this one and one more little ball just to use that up. Wow, my throat feels funky today. I do have one full remaining cake. And I think when I'm done, this one's also going to go in my donate pile because I'm definitely not going to make another wearable for myself with this if I have the sweater. And it could be a cool baby blanket, but I have other baby blanket yarn that I like better. So I don't really think there's any reason to hold on to this. It's also a discontinued colorway, so if I do make something out of it, I won't be able to like match it to anything else. So it can go to someone who will appreciate it more than I would. So I'm going to keep the like total destash count as 3 skeins of this, even though I only used 2 for the project, because the other one will be donated just like with the sock yarn that I was talking about. So I did it pretty much as the pattern says. The pattern gives you options for the neckline, so I went with the ribbed option. Obviously I haven't woven in the ends yet. And then I decided to add the ribbing at the edge of the sleeves as well. I also did not do any decreases on the sleeves because I didn't really want them to have that tapered look to them. I wanted to keep it more just oversized. And these ended up being like, how long are these sleeves actually? They're gonna end up being like bracelet-ish length sleeves when I have it on. It's a little hard to tell because the yarn stretches a lot when I hold it up. So like if I hold it, it gets wider and wider and wider instead of like going down longer. But if I shake it a couple times, it suddenly gets a lot longer. But because I added the ribbing to the neckline and to the edge of the sleeves, I picked up stitches along the bottom and I'm doing some rows of ribbing down there. Also just to add a little bit of length to the sweater and use up those remaining partial skeins of yarn. So I might finish that this week, but I'm just going to go until the yarn is done. So it might take me longer than I think it's going to. Or if it gets like really ridiculously long with the ribbing, I'll just stop and add the remainder of yarn to the donation box as well. The other project that I started this week, and I probably shouldn't have started another project, but I did anyway, I I started working on an infinity scarf with this very fun self-striping yarn. This is crocheted in the moss stitch or linen stitch. It's got 2 different names depending on who you ask. But I picked this yarn from Seven Sisters Yarn and Fiber when I went to St. Louis back in November. I picked it because the blue and gold shades remind me of my college colors. But it's also the colors of the school that I currently sub at. So I'm going to have this like very wacky looking striped scarf that I'm very excited about. The only thing I'm not excited about is I don't know if this was quite the ideal stitch for this. I would have really liked to knit it in the round and make a tube, but I thought that I wasn't going to have enough yarn to make it the like length that I wanted it to be. So I went with a crochet version. I figured I can always pull it out if I decide I don't like it, but this is a very fun yarn. I love that the striping remains throughout, but the shades of the stripe are what changes. So that is my other active whip at the moment. Yeah, I think that's it. I've got a couple of projects that I have planned for February. Some of them you've already seen because I got them started to do like a couple of test rows. But I think I will save that for next week's podcast since this one is already over 30 minutes. So I think that's going to be it for this episode. Upcoming things this week. I just posted a mini tutorial to my TikTok account. So if you were curious about how to do an applied I-cord edging for knit projects, that tutorial is on my TikTok account. And then on YouTube, you are getting, what video is coming out this week? Oh, you're getting another quiet craft with me this week because that's what worked best for my schedule. And you'll get to see me working on the cowl that is now already finished. But it seems like you guys liked the first one, so I'm going to keep doing videos like that are just chill and working on a project that you can use as background entertainment while you're working on something else. So that will come out on Friday, so in just a couple days from when you're seeing this video. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to follow me on any other social media, that information will be down below for you to check out. If you are new to this channel, I'd love it if you hit subscribe so that you can be notified of all my future videos. And if you feel like it, give this video a like and a comment because that helps boost the YouTube algorithm so that more people see my crafty stuff. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone!